What is up, Waffle Gang? I do hope you're well. My name is Mark, and today we're covering some more r/am I the butthole. If you'd like to skip the initial waffle, timestamps are in the description and along the timeline below, but if you are new here, please consider hitting that like, that subscribe, and maybe that notification bell too. Yesterday on YouTube, we had two new members. We had Draciella, I hope I did get your name right there, and we also had Violet Morgan. Thank you so much for joining us. Your support means the absolute world to me. I can't tell you how much it does. And for everyone for taking the time out of your days to come here, bless me with your presence and get involved and liking the video and commenting and just getting involved in the community vibe that we have going on. I really do love it. So thank you so much. And with that being said, let's just crack on with today's stories. Much love, guys. And our first story comes from, am I the arsehole stepmom and dad? Am I the arsehole for not letting my stepmom be buried with my dad? When I, 24 male, was very young, my dad was diagnosed with cancer. He survived it, but it was very close, and my mum bought a 3-person burial site in our local cemetery just in case he died, so that one day we could be buried together. About 5 years after his cancer scare, my mum died in an accident at work, pretty much immediately after my stepmom came into the picture. It was pretty much clear from the get-go that she was only interested in dad because of mum's life insurance plus the accidental death payout. She had 2 kids from prior marriages. Dad was her third. My dad was devastated from losing mum, and I think he just saw my stepmom as an easy person to comfort him. I absolutely do not blame him for the shit she put me through. My preteen and teen years sucked because of her. I was continuously bullied by her kids and her. I wasn't allowed to join sports teams or socialise after school. If I wasn't studying, then I was cleaning, and if I protested, then I would go without meals. My dad died about 8 years after my mum did, and my stepmom immediately kicked me out. I was only 15 at the time. There was a huge fight over my dad's assets because he left almost everything to me. Long story short, she has just died. Her children have approached me and asked that she be buried next to dad and mum. I refused. They lambasted me all over social media and to mutual friends, accusing me of being mean and that she was dad's wife and should be buried next to him. Am I the arsehole? I think the main point of this one is, at the very start they said that was a family plot, so it was for them 3, mum, dad, child. And in nowhere, I don't know if you can even just go in and change these things like that, can you? Especially now the mum, the original person who set this all up, has passed away. Surely it can't be changed afterwards, right? And that's just focusing sort of on the legalities of this situation. But then if we look at her as a character and as a person, hell no. I mean, she kicked you out as a kid after your dad passed away, after you was left in this world and she was your guardian. And she kicked you out. Hell no, you owe her nothing, in my opinion. Although the real petty side of me would have loved to see her face when she was told she'd get none of the assets. Anyway, let's have a look at the comments below to see what they say. Dullcode7213 says, not the arsehole. She made it clear by kicking you out as a child that you are not her family. Why should she be buried next to yours? Terry says, not the arsehole, that's your plot. They have no right to demand it and should have no expectation you would give it to a woman who kicked you out as a 15-year-old orphan. My guess is they just don't want to buy their mother a plot. Cool Rawl says, so much not the arsehole. For a second, let's ignore her douchebaggery. If your dad wanted to be buried with her, he had ample opportunity to change it. Now back to her, F kids, and F the flaming hell wagon they rode in on. May they wipe their asses with barbed wire and bathe in lemon juice. Ow, 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 ow. Meanwhile, I want you to block them haters and live your life as best as you can. Smoochy Poo says, not the arsehole. That is a family plot allocated prior to their marriage. Had he had any intention of being buried with her, your dad would have taken the means to do so. Ignore them, block them, whatever. You have done nothing wrong. It's not her resting place. An elegant occasion says, even Cinderella's stepmother didn't kick her out of the house. Not the arsehole. I'm sorry for everything you went through growing up. Absolutely. What a tragic upbringing, right? And hopefully they're doing a little better now. But what would you do in this situation if you was OP? Would you let mother-in-law have the plot? Would you not? Let me know how you would handle this situation in the comments below. And don't forget to vote on that poll in the description for story 1. And our next story is from Safe Risk. Am I the arsehole for telling my mum I own her house? My wife and I have been having a discussion and she finds it really weird that I'm keeping this secret. I bought a house prior to COVID, and so during the lockdowns I was able to get some really cheap contracting done because of people needed work. I got it fixed up to rent it out, not to my mum, but just to anybody. When it became clear people were losing jobs, I didn't want to rent to a stranger, just to kick them out, so I kept renovating at a slow pace just to keep the house on the ups. Fast forward, I found out that my mum is being evicted for not paying rent. I refused to send my mum money. I used to, and it damn near made me broke. She has a gambling addiction and drinking problem. She lost her job. So I tell her I have a friend who owns a house one state over. With nothing to lose, she found a job out of state, applied with an agent I know out there who handled the beginning part, but really, it's my house and she wouldn't have been approved otherwise. I rent it to her at below market rate, but enough to where I know she's not wasting all the money on gambling and drinking. My brother and his son also live there. She didn't tell management that, go figure. So my wife is like, I want to go see the house. I tell her what I did and she doesn't seem to understand that I never told my mum it's my house and why. As soon as I tell her it's my house, she's going to go back to being irresponsible, and it's bad enough my brother is freeloading there too, but this is going to be a financial burden on us if we tell her. As of now, it's not because she thinks some company owns it. In my opinion, this is a great way to sort of try and keep your mum under control. Surely you're having to be a bit underhand by not telling her that, well, she doesn't even need to know really, does she? It's nothing to do with her in the end, who she's actually renting from. She's having to go for a management company, so yeah. And if her gambling and alcohol addiction is really that bad, I think it's a perfect solution for this. The last thing you want her to do is to just go back to her old ways and start spending her money frivolously because she can, because she knows her son will basically carry her through life while she's just gambling and drinking away. It's given her some responsibility back for her own life. And it kind of goes to show their attitude already when the brother's already moved in with the kids and they're already freeloading, and that's already taking the piss on you. That's already putting a burden on you because, you know, you're not getting paid for those people being in your house either. And they probably are going to be, you know, using your property, damaging your property in some ways, maybe if there's kids involved too. But that is slightly reaching, of course. But let's have a look at some of the comments to see what they say on this situation. Dragon Spit says, not the arsehole, your mum has a serious problem. This is a great way to keep her from being homeless while keeping your own boundaries intact. Hope you can get your girlfriend to see it that way so she doesn't go spilling the beans behind your back or something. OP replies to this saying, my wife doesn't talk to my mum. They don't get along, so this is a bonus for me in this matter. The one time it's been in my benefit. My wife typically handles all the financials. That's her career outside of home too, so it's very typical for her to want to see a property after work is done because she's thinking profit, which I expect. But in this case, I just have to get her to ignore the house and pay the bills on it for me because quite frankly, I don't know how to do all of that and keep track of it. Just like a mini Mar2 says, not the arsehole, it's mutually beneficial for you and your mum as it stands currently. You have a renter, she makes more responsible choices and keeps a roof over her head. That being said, be prepared for this to blow up in your face if she ever finds out you are the homeowner. And Lee's Will says, I think you're not the arsehole for renting to your mum without telling her. Like another commenter said, it's the perfect solution to keep her off of the streets without throwing money into a black hole. However, why is it took your wife asking about the house for you to tell her about all of this? Aren't you partners? It's a bit weird to me that you never mentioned you were moving your mum into the house you've been renovating. Now, what do you guys think of this situation? Do you think OP's right to be moving his mum in and not telling her? Or do you think it's a stupid move that, yeah, like one commenter said, it could blow up in his face in the end? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to vote on that poll in the description for story 2. And our next story comes from Antique Parsley. Am I the arsehole for refusing to pay a dime for the medical bills of a teenager I technically hit with my car? Last year I was driving home from work on a 4-lane road that had a divider in the middle. It's dangerous to cross against a light because the speed limit is 45, but people do anyway. I saw a group of teens standing on the divider waiting to cross my lane, but figured they were waiting for the light to change so they had the right of way before they crossed. Well, they didn't, and one kid walked right in front of my car. I slammed on the brakes but couldn't swerve because there were cars in the lane next to me. He was pretty seriously injured but survived. From the most recent info I have, he has regained full mobility but continues to deal with some cognitive issues. I blamed myself for a long time and spent several months in therapy over the guilt, but overall the accident was not my fault. By the laws of physics, I could not have stopped in time. I was obeying all traffic laws and he knowingly walked directly into multiple lanes of oncoming traffic against the light. Apparently he said he assumed I would stop for him, but if I hadn't hit him, a car in the next lane to me absolutely would have. My insurance company defended me in multiple lawsuits from his parents' health insurance company and the ones his parents filed against me personally. I was ruled not at fault every time, but unsurprisingly, his parents are now seriously struggling to pay off his medical bills, and I think should be paying most or all of it. According to the GoFundMe, they have well over 6 figures of bills, will be losing their house, and one of the parents is out of work now. I've been contacted by no less than 20 people insisting that since I hit him with my car, I have a moral obligation to help pay. My issue, my husband and I both lost close relatives to what's going around, and recent modest inheritances we're not expecting, so technically we do not have the money to help. Without it, we wouldn't be able to make any meaningful dent in the debt. Our plan has been to use that to pay for the IVF to start a family and potentially adoption if that's how it goes. But now, with so many friends / family members of the boy reaching out to my husband directly about the GoFundMe too, my husband says he feels morally conflicted using that money to, in his words, create a whole new kid when one is already in need. He wants to give money to the boy's parents to help pay off their debt, and is now even talking about the payment plan they want me to agree to. I understand that technically I hit a kid with my car, but under the circumstances I don't think I should have to sacrifice having my own kid because of his carelessness. My husband and the legion of people harassing me says it's cruel to refuse to pay a dime. I think helping a token amount will open the floodgates, and I don't feel bad about refusing. Should I? My husband is someone I see as a really reasonable person, so he's making me second guess my feelings. Well, as we know from the very start, all the harassment and everything aside, he made the mistake here. He walked out into traffic and used the excuse, "I thought they would stop." That's absolutely ridiculous. And to add, also bloody dangerous, because if you did swerve, lost control of the car, anything could have happened. You could have killed multiple people. So it's a bloody stupid move on their part, and I'm not playing down their injuries or anything, because I don't like to hear anyone being injured or anything like that, but this was their fault. And for all these people to come at you, harassing you, telling you that you should be paying out is absolutely stupid, after they put you all through this stress of multiple lawsuits, and I can imagine what that's like. I'm no legal expert or anything like that. I've been learning quite a lot over the last year or so because of my dad's illness, and lawsuits that might be going on regarding that very soon, and I can tell you how stressful that is. So to think about multiple lawsuits against you, oh my word, I can't imagine what you were going through. And to put you under this kind of stress has to be some form of harassment, surely. And I would look into getting that filed ASAP, because they're currently taking over your life with this. They're converting your husband to be against you too, and making you think about your own choices. This is ridiculous. And don't get me wrong, I do feel for the people in this position that they lost their job and they're under financial stress and from the medical bills and things, but from the very beginning, this is this person's fault for walking out into traffic. Let's read some of the comments below to see what they say. Obiteridicta says, I don't know if I got that name right, "Not the arsehole, I'd be speaking to a lawyer about these people harassing you." Edit, "If you are considering making the generous action of anonymous donation, please confirm with a lawyer first that there is a minimal chance of that being construed as admission of guilt." Very, very good point there. Miley30 says, "I was once witness to an accident very similar to what you were describing. A pedestrian ran into 3 lanes of traffic. I narrowly missed him, but the car beside me didn't. As someone who's seen what you're describing, I agree with your assessment that it was not your fault at all. And every one of the 5 different times as pedestrians' attorneys have contacted me to testify in their lawsuit against the car that hit them, I'm very clear that I will be the worst witness they ever call, because I will say in open court that this accident was 100% the fault of the idiot pedestrian who launched himself into moving traffic, not the fault of the poor driver who hit him and was also traumatized. Not the arsehole." Cospalau says, "Not the arsehole. Number 1, talk to a lawyer. This is harassment. A cease and desist letter won't hurt. 2, if you want to donate to the GoFundMe page with however much you feel is appropriate, it's there for you. Teens are stupid like this sometimes. I remember knowing a boy exactly like the one who walked out into traffic without waiting or looking, because cars have brakes, they can use them. He's lucky he wasn't killed. Kids learn to look both ways before crossing when they're 4. He had absolutely no excuse for his stupid decision. He knew better and he made his choice." Mysterious System says, "Not the arsehole. You have been found not at fault multiple times. You have no obligation, moral or otherwise, to pay. This boy is to blame for his injuries, for the cost incurred, and for the financial consequences for his parents. The parents understandably don't want to blame their son for potentially costing them their house, but that does not entitle them to scapegoat you, or to pressure you and your husband into bailing them out. If your husband is so foolish as to make a payment to the family, a token will never be enough. They will take it as an admission that you should pay all of it. Your husband needs to recognise that there are, sadly, many children in need in the world. Unlike this boy, most of them are not the cause of their misfortune. If he wants to donate his inheritance rather than using it to start a family with you, there are better ways to do it. Now, what do you guys think should happen in this situation? Do you think they should just totally ignore it and file harassment? Or do you think they should be donating to this GoFundMe page and paying for the medical bills? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to vote on that poll in the description for story 3. And our next story is from OK Body. Am I the arsehole for giving my brother a 5k severance pay from our vacation fund? My brother has acted as our kids' babysitter since they were in pre-K. Over the last couple of years, I told him we would likely not need him when our youngest son started 7th grade. This year our son started the 6th grade, but his classes are online and me and his mum work from home. No need for a sitter/driver. My wife agreed and should give him some severance. The last he worked was in July, and I told him this week we didn't need him anymore. He was bummed out because he enjoyed spending time with the boys and doesn't live nearby. His day job is close to our house and the extra income was nice. I decided that I would give him 5k. My wife was livid. She thought maybe $100. I explained that it's not like we're going to go on vacation for a long time. He ended his job much earlier than expected and to no fault of his own. He was really good to our kids, and we're saving money by not having a sitter or having to commute to work ourselves. And it's not like he can claim unemployment. It took a couple of years to save that 5k, but it's not the end of the world. Now, it's going to be one of those, because we've had a story like this before, where, you know, you have a mutual pot of money where you both saved up for it and then one of the partners just goes and spends it. I can't remember what the last one was about. You know, without discussing it at all, without doing anything, you took the money and gave it away. And it sounds to me that you just you spoke with your heart or acted with your heart rather than your brain. And I hate to say you're the arsehole because of that, because, you know, you was making a nice gesture, but the fact that you didn't discuss this with your wife, you know, was a bit stupid in my opinion. The fact that you didn't discuss this with your partner, you know, does make you the arsehole in this, because it needs to be a joint decision. But I'm not going to totally hate on you because you're trying to do it from a good place, you know. And we need more of that in the world. Not giving away 5k or anything, but just good people. And your wife's probably thinking, you know, what better ways could we have spent that 5k? Sure, you're not going on vacation, but you could have put that towards your kids or house repairs or something like that. There will come a time probably when you will need this 5k and you're going to look back and think, shit, you know. But let's have a look at some of the comments and see what they say on this one. Howard Project says you're the arsehole and quotes, it took a couple of years to save that 5k. And then says it doesn't actually matter whether you gave it to your brother, bought a motorcycle or donated it to a cancer research fund. You spent 2 years saving without any discussion whatsoever with your spouse. Cypher Max says you're the arsehole for paying out of a mutual pot without discussing the amount beforehand. It was shared money. The amount should have been a shared decision. Poe Adam says you're the arsehole not for giving your brother the 5k, but for doing so without discussing it with your wife. There should have been a mutual decision made together. The Disciple Matt says you're the arsehole. Hard to give you this one, man. Your intentions were good, and honestly, I would have done the same in the situation, except you didn't have the conversation with your wife. If my wife just blew 5k, I would have at least want to talk about it. We gave her family 6k in May, but we had a conversation about it. For example, can we help? How much? What is realistic? How do we support but also maintain our own finances? So your reasoning wasn't bad, but not talking to your SO about it makes you the arsehole. And Greyman Group says you're the arsehole. I mean, it was super generous of you to do that, but it doesn't sound like the money was only yours to give. And Cock Gobbler says, you're the arsehole. That 5k took you both years to save up. It's a pretty big deal that you gave all of it away, regardless of how noble a cause. That wasn't money for just you to decide on how or where it gets spent. This is pretty significant because you have basically told your wife that you're fine making these kind of choices without including her in any of it. Imagine how bad off you two would be if something major happened and you both needed that money. You're the arsehole in this one. Now, how would you deal with this? Now the 5K's already been handed over, what can you ask for it back? And how can you make it up to your partner when you've already done this? How can you earn their trust back? Because surely there's going to be some lost trust in there too. Let me know how you would handle this situation in the comments below, and don't forget to vote on that poll in the description for story 4. Once again guys, thank you for being here today. I hope you did enjoy today's videos, and if you did, you know what to do. Hit that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too, and always remember, I always appreciate you, and let me know what you're doing with your days. I've been hearing some really good ones just recently. I've had people doing their homework, drawing. Someone was riding a horse in the middle of nowhere listening to me. And to think that my voice is over somewhere like in Texas while someone's riding a horse is it's crazy. To think at like 6 o'clock my time most evenings that my voice is in like so many different places. It's quite creepy as well. Thank you so much for your support, and for all the joiners, the Patreon memberships too. I'm just so thankful to you guys, and just to everyone really. It's a wild ride at the moment, and I'm really enjoying it, and I hope it doesn't end soon, because you know I'm having a lot of good fun with you guys and chatting to you too. So with that being said, I will see you in the next one, and I hope you have a great day ahead of you. Much love to you. See you in the next one. Bye bye.